Holy shit. He said what?
Oh, look at these two. All right, come on. You're okay? Oh, what? Either they're having an affair or they're just very shy.
What could it be? A mystery for the ages.
He's married with teenage children. Kristen Cabot has been divorced for 3 years. She was hired just 8 months ago. And now that 15 seconds of video is having a devastating impact on both of their lives.
It was supposed to be just another magical night at a Coldplay concert. 70,000 fans under the stars. A sea of lights waving to the beat of Fix You, and Chris Martin smiling as cameras panned across joyful couples. But in one unexpected cutaway, the stadium's kiss cam zoomed in on a man and a woman sharing what looked like an intimate, affectionate moment.
Oh, look at these two. All right, come on. You're okay? Oh, what?
They smiled, they kissed, the crowd cheered. No one in the audience had any idea who they were, but the internet found out. Within 24 hours, that short clip had gone viral. The man in the video, Andy Byron, then CEO of Astronomer, a respected tech company. The woman, Kristen Cabot, Astronomer's head of HR, both married, neither to each other. And that innocent-seeming kiss cam moment, it ignited a wildfire that destroyed reputations, ended a high-profile career, tore a family apart, and set the stage for one of the strangest lawsuits ever considered. Because now Andy Byron isn't just facing public shame, he's reportedly preparing to sue Coldplay. Yes, the band. He claims emotional distress, invasion of privacy, and blames Chris Martin and the concert organizers for turning him into a meme.
I don't know if he was happily married, she was happily, I don't know any of that. But I do know that if you don't want people to know what you're doing, don't take them to concerts.
Yeah. 60,000 people.
According to insiders, he believes the band humiliated him by broadcasting his private life to millions. But here's where it gets truly bizarre. Chris Martin's alleged reaction. He laughed out loud, and that single laugh may be the most savage response to a scandal the music industry has seen all year.
What expressions do you want to see on people's faces during your concert?
But this isn't just about a meme, it's about betrayal, power, and the blurry line between public entertainment and private devastation. So how did a simple kiss cam moment become a legal and emotional minefield? And why is Coldplay suddenly being painted as villains in someone else's personal disaster? You're about to find out, but what happens next will make you question everything about privacy in the digital age. It only took 9 seconds to obliterate a man's career. One moment, he was just another face in the crowd, an anonymous concert goer swaying to Coldplay's music, and the next, he was trending on Twitter, dissected in Reddit threads, and turned into a meme that spread faster than wildfire.
She got your ass.
It happened during the band's Boston concert, when the infamous Coldplay kiss cam began its usual lighthearted ritual. The crowd played along, clapping, laughing, cheering as couples appeared on the big screen. Then came that shot, a sharply dressed man with salt and pepper hair pulling in a woman beside. Their body language, cozy. Their kiss, passionate. The audience erupted. To everyone there, it was just another sweet moment. But once the footage made its way online, things escalated with terrifying speed. Amateur sleuths, armed with nothing but screenshots and determination, started digging. Within hours, identities were confirmed. The man was Andy Byron, CEO of a multi-million-dollar tech company, and the woman was Kristen Cabot, his head of HR. The problem? Andy wasn't single, neither was Kristen, and they weren't married to each other.
Byron is already married. Cabot recently divorced her husband, Kenneth Thornby. Apparently now, the wife of the Astronomer CEO has changed her last name on social media.
That kiss wasn't just embarrassing, it was evidence. The internet pounced, memes exploded, TikToks were made, commenters joked that Andy should have known better than to play tongue tango in front of 70,000 fans and Coldplay's giant screen. But beneath the jokes, something darker was brewing. Employees from Astronomer, Andy's company, started buzzing. Board members caught wind, and the press, they smelled blood. What should have been a fleeting viral clip now carried real-world consequences. Professional fallout, a marriage in crisis, and a scandal spiraling beyond anyone's control. Still, the real drama hadn't even begun yet, because while the internet laughed, Andy Byron was seething, and his next move would drag one of the biggest bands on earth into a legal and emotional firestorm. But Andy's reaction behind the scenes, that's where it gets messy.
If you are cheating on your wife with a person at your company, and you go out in public to a concert, and then you are caught on camera in this public arena, canoodling with this person, that one's on you. That is not on the kiss cam operator.
It didn't take long for the internet's curiosity to turn into full-blown corporate chaos, because once Andy Byron and Kristen Cabot's identities were confirmed, the story instantly evolved from a juicy meme into a ticking PR time bomb. And here's where it gets more scandalous. Andy wasn't just any CEO. He was the face of Astronomer, a rising star in the tech world. Hailed as a visionary, married for over a decade to Megan Kerrigan, with 2 kids and a seemingly stable family life. Kristen, equally high profile within the company. As the head of human resources, she was the gatekeeper of workplace ethics and conduct. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. 2 senior executives, one married, the other with a partner, caught on camera in what looked like a moment of raw intimacy, right in front of thousands and millions more online. The kiss cam footage wasn't just inconvenient, it was damning. Astronomer's board quickly convened a crisis meeting. Employees whispered in Slack threads. Screenshots circulated like wildfire, and the internal mood at the company plummeted.
You don't know who else is in this giant stadium of people. If you're doing that and you don't want people to know, what the hell? I mean, it's just too dumb. You got inadvertently what you might have been looking for.
Then came the bombshell. Astronomer issued a statement confirming an internal investigation into the CEO's conduct. Behind the scenes, sources say Byron was defiant, calling it a gross invasion of privacy. But the writing was on the wall. A few days later, he resigned, stepping down in exchange for a very generous exit package, likely negotiated to avoid further public fallout. Kristen Cabot, meanwhile, stayed silent. No apology, no denial, no explanation. And perhaps that silence said more than any statement could, because by this point, the damage had already spilled over into their personal lives. Megan Kerrigan, Andy's wife, quietly moved out of their family home. Close friends say she was devastated, blindsided by the kiss cam debacle and its aftermath. Astronomer, scrambling to rebuild trust, moved forward without either of its former power players. But while the company tried to pick up the pieces, Andy Byron was preparing for war, and the target of his legal retaliation, not Kristen, not the media, but Chris Martin and Coldplay. But then came the legal bombshell that stunned Coldplay's camp. This is the moment when things took a turn from scandalous to surreal, because just when the dust was starting to settle around Andy Byron's public downfall, an unexpected twist threw fuel onto the fire and dragged Coldplay frontman Chris Martin into the heart of the controversy.
It was the worst cover-up ever. She turned her back to the camera and he just like he looked totally humiliated, embarrassed. It's like, hello, everybody knows to just act like you didn't do anything wrong. You gotta keep holding and then make it into like a dance. That's all it was. It was a dance. It wasn't an embrace. Do something other than turn and cower in humiliation, Camille.
According to a bombshell report by celebrity insider Rob Shooter via his number Shooter Scoop column, Andy Byron wasn't just licking his wounds. He was exploring a lawsuit, not against Kristen Cabot, not even against his company. He was reportedly preparing legal action against Coldplay and the concert's event organizers. His claim that he never consented to being filmed or broadcast to tens of thousands of fans, let alone millions online. According to a source quoted in the article, Byron felt he had been humiliated on a global stage, blaming Chris Martin and his team for turning him into a meme. He thinks Coldplay made him a punchline, the insider alleged. The allegations didn't stop at emotional damage. Byron's camp cited invasion of privacy, intentional infliction of emotional distress, and reputational harm. But here's where it gets even stranger, because instead of the usual tight-lipped legal reaction, Chris Martin reportedly had just one response. He laughed, literally.
And her response to that was, No, so
there are worse things we could be doing.
Sources close to the band say Martin burst into laughter when he heard Byron was considering a lawsuit. He thought it was absurd, said one insider. You're in a stadium filled with cameras and 70,000 people. What privacy? Legal experts seem to agree. Public venue, public behavior, viral footage captured as part of the experience. One lawyer put it bluntly, this sounds like a man trying to shift blame from his own choices. Still, the optics were messy. For Byron, the Coldplay kiss cam wasn't just a viral moment. It was the match that lit a personal and professional implosion. But dragging a Grammy-winning band into his downfall, that was a bold move, and not one that was earning him much sympathy. So the world waited to see if he would really file. And Chris Martin, he didn't flinch, he just kept touring. But so far, that laugh was the only thing he'd officially offered the scandal. So how did the Coldplay frontman go from stadium sweetheart to scapegoat in someone else's downfall? So how did Chris Martin react to being blamed for a kiss cam scandal? Chris Martin isn't exactly known for stirring the pot. In fact, the Coldplay frontman has built an entire career on kindness, introspection, and harmony, literally and metaphorically. But when news reached him that Andy Byron was allegedly preparing to sue him over a viral kiss cam moment, something changed. According to insiders close to the band, Martin didn't call his lawyer. He didn't panic. He didn't even issue a carefully worded PR statement. Instead, he laughed, and not just a polite chuckle, a full-on, you've got to be kidding me, belly laugh. Chris thought it was ridiculous, a source revealed. He's been doing these shows for years. Kiss cams are part of the fun, the atmosphere. People come to be seen, to be part of the moment. If you're locking lips in front of a jumbo screen in a stadium full of cameras, what exactly do you think is going to happen?
Don't then claim that you're a victim. You're not a victim. Coldplay did not victimize you other than with their terrible chord structure. Coldplay victimized you in no way. You victimized you because you made a bad decision. Failing to own your own sin is, in fact, its own form of sin.
But Byron didn't see it that way. He reportedly believes Coldplay had a moral responsibility to protect him from becoming internet fodder. And that's where things really get twisted. Because for Martin, the kiss cam is about joy, spontaneity, shared human moments. For Byron, it was the beginning of a nightmare. Two completely different lenses viewing the exact same footage. Martin's team, meanwhile, wasn't worried. Legal advisors close to the band reportedly dismissed Byron's threats as unfounded and unserious. One source even said they weren't sure if any legal documents had actually been drafted at all. We think it's just noise, they claimed, but noise or not, the media latched onto it. Headlines exploded. Coldplay sued over kiss cam, CEO blames band for viral meltdown, and suddenly, a group known for peace and love was being dragged through mud that had nothing to do with their own lives. For Chris, the lawsuit was absurd, but what it represented, a man refusing to take ownership of his actions, was far more concerning. And what made this scandal even more bitter? The complete radio silence from Kristen Cabot, the other half of the now infamous Kiss. As Chris Martin shrugged it all off and kept singing to sold-out crowds, Andy Byron was unraveling behind closed doors. But was this just the beginning of something much darker unraveling behind closed doors? While Chris Martin was laughing, Andy Byron's personal life was imploding at a speed even the internet couldn't keep up with. Behind the clickbait headlines and meme culture was a man watching everything he had built, his career, his reputation, his marriage, crumble in real time. After the viral kiss cam exploded, Byron's carefully curated image as a tech visionary and devoted family man was torn to shreds, and the consequences weren't just public, they were painfully, brutally private.
Kiss cam is only supposed to be for the enjoyment of the people at the game. They never show that on TV. What people do in the privacy of their own sports arena should be their own business.
Megan Kerrigan, Byron's wife of over 10 years, reportedly packed her bags and quietly moved out of their shared home. No press conference, no social media meltdown, just silence and distance. Friends close to the family say Megan was devastated, blindsided by what she saw on the concert screen and humiliated by how quickly it became global gossip. She didn't need explanations. The footage said enough.
His wife has now deactivated her account. The wife later dropped her married name on her Facebook account to the delight of Mrs. SpaceX, who wrote, "What a class act. Go Megan, get that divorce lawyer and get the money."
As for Kristen Cabot, the woman beside him in the viral clip, she didn't offer a statement either. Not to the media, not to Astronomers Board, not even to her colleagues. And maybe that silence was strategic, or maybe it was guilt. But what made it worse? That wasn't the only footage. Coldplay fans, already deep in online detective mode, unearthed more video from that night. Clips showing Byron and Cabot holding hands, whispering, hugging, and kissing throughout the show. Not just one moment, multiple. One clip even showed them embracing in the middle of a crowd selfie. The internet didn't miss a beat. Comments flooded in. Bro didn't even try to hide it. Caught in 4K. You just fumbled your job and your wife at the same time. With every repost, Byron's image took another blow. Astronomer, attempting damage control, issued a brief statement confirming his resignation by mutual agreement, then moved on. But for Byron, there was no moving on. He'd lost his position. He'd lost his home. And most painfully of all, he'd become a public cautionary tale.
The bigger thing people aren't talking about is how a CEO of a company should never be dating the head of HR. They are literally there to be on the affair. These are the people that's supposed to implement company policy. There's a power dynamic. There's a question of like
sometimes
ethics.
You can't help who you want to get on. I don't know. Sometimes you just can't.
And yet, what hurt even more? That the world laughed while his life burned. And still, there's one theory no one is talking about, and it changes everything. Here's where things go from messy to downright suspicious. Because once the kiss cam scandal exploded and Andy Byron's life came crashing down, some people online began asking a very uncomfortable question. What if this wasn't a random moment? What if Byron was targeted? Now, before you dismiss it as just another wild internet theory, hear this out. At a concert with 70,000 screaming fans, hundreds of cameras, and thousands of couples to choose from, why did the Coldplay kiss cam zero in so tightly on that couple? Some fans speculate that Byron and Cabot were a little too visible. The PDA was constant, hugging, hand-holding, building, kissing in the open, even standing when most around them were sitting. As one fan wrote, they were begging to be noticed, but others believe they were noticed on purpose. A handful of Twitter users claimed the kiss cam operator was tipped off by nearby audience members who had allegedly recognized Byron. A few even suggested a staff member might have known who he was and pointed the camera intentionally. Was it an innocent coincidence, a fan-fueled moment, or a calculated exposure meant to embarrass? Then there's the Coldplay team. While there's zero evidence of any malicious intent, the speculation didn't stop the internet from running wild. Some suggested the moment was planted for PR, that perhaps Coldplay, or the event organizers, wanted a viral kiss cam moment and didn't vet it properly. But if that's true, the plan backfired spectacularly. Instead of a feel-good clip, it triggered a corporate meltdown, wrecked a marriage, and turned one of tech's rising stars into digital cannon fodder. Still, the conspiracy theories persisted. Kissgate trended for 48 hours. Reddit threads dissected camera angles, audience seating charts, and timeline breakdowns. It all felt like a Netflix docuseries in the making. But at the center of all the noise, one truth remained. If this was a setup, it worked too well. And if it wasn't, the randomness makes it even more tragic. Regardless of intent, Byron was exposed, and his lawsuit now carried a layer of paranoia. Because if he really believes he was set up, this isn't just a privacy complaint, it's a war for reputation.
She was smoother with it than he was. She kind of did a little thing.
No. They were both at the same.
Well, what about the one
but diving?
There's a meme that says the Coldplay incident confirms what most of us already knew. You can never trust HR.
Yeah, I know.
And now, with Coldplay touring globally and the spotlight hotter than ever, the stakes are only getting higher. For a band that spent decades building a reputation on peace, unity, and soulful connection, getting dragged into a scandal involving cheating, public humiliation, and a potential lawsuit is the last thing anyone expected. Coldplay has always stood apart from the usual celebrity drama. No wild parties, no public meltdowns, just music that's deeply emotional, visually stunning shows, and Chris Martin's image as the soft-spoken, compassionate frontman. But suddenly, that carefully preserved image was at risk, not because of anything they did, but because of who they accidentally put on screen. The viral kiss cam fiasco, while clearly unintentional, was now tied to the band's brand whether they liked it or not, and fans were split. Some praised Chris Martin's candid, almost savage laughter at the idea of being sued, calling it a perfect mic drop moment. Others weren't so amused. They argued that the band should have at least acknowledged the incident publicly, if not apologized for the unintended consequences. You don't get to go viral at someone else's expense and laugh about it, one commenter wrote, but others quickly clapped back, pointing out the obvious. Public event, public crowd, public cameras. What did he expect? The debate grew louder as Coldplay continued their world tour. Every new concert brought a new wave of commentary. Would they still use the kiss cam? Would they make a joke about it? Were they distancing themselves from it entirely? So far, they've stayed silent, strategically, perhaps wisely, but the situation exposed something deeper, how fragile public trust can be, even for the most beloved figures. Because when you've spent years building a brand around emotional connection, one misstep, intentional or not, can suddenly feel personal to fans. Coldplay now walks a tightrope between maintaining their joyful stadium experience and not becoming scapegoats for the internet's latest fallout. But even in their silence, the message is clear. They're not taking the blame for one man's implosion, and yet there's still one last twist that could make or break the entire legal battle. Because there's a single fact buried in all this chaos, a detail so crucial it could crush Andy Byron's entire case in one breath. For all the noise, headlines, and viral outrage, there's one cold, immovable truth that could bring Andy Byron's entire legal campaign crashing down. And it's something every legal expert, entertainment attorney, and digital privacy analyst has been screaming since day one. He had no reasonable expectation of privacy. At a sold-out Coldplay concert, inside a stadium of 70,000 fans, with cameras everywhere, jumbotrons broadcasting live crowd reactions, and mobile phones capturing every second from every angle, privacy is not just unlikely, it's practically non-existent. Legal analysts have already weighed in, calling Byron's potential lawsuit a Hail Mary at best, and a desperate move to shift blame at worst. One entertainment lawyer put it bluntly, this isn't someone being filmed through their window. This is a man publicly making out with his HR chief in the middle of a Coldplay crowd. There's no case here, and that's the fatal flaw, because even if Byron felt embarrassed, even if the virality destroyed his reputation, the legal foundation is made of sand. There was no malicious intent, no targeted humiliation, just a camera capturing what the moment offered. And whether he likes it or not, he offered that moment. That's why Chris Martin reportedly laughed, not out of cruelty, but because the idea that he's legally responsible for someone else's public behavior was simply absurd. Coldplay didn't create the meme, the internet did, and the only thing more fragile than public image is the illusion of control once that image starts spiraling. Now, with his career gone, his marriage fractured, and his name permanently attached to a moment he wishes he could could erase, Byron is left with very few options. He can try to sue, he can blame Coldplay, but the legal walls are closing in fast. And in the court of public opinion, his credibility is already bankrupt, which leads us to one final brutal reality. This may be the last we ever hear from Andy Byron, because once the legal dust settles, even the scandal won't remember his name. So how does a man go from CEO to scandal icon in under 48 hours? How does a stadium kiss meant to ignite cheers end up burning down a reputation, a marriage, and a multi-million-dollar career? The Coldplay kiss cam moment wasn't just a viral clip. It was a collision of modern fame, digital voyeurism, and personal recklessness caught in 4K. Andy Byron didn't just lose his job, he lost control of the narrative. And no amount of legal scrambling can undo what the internet has already immortalized. Chris Martin, ever the calm eye in the storm, chose laughter over outrage. And that laugh may go down as one of the most dismissive and honest celebrity reactions in recent memory. Because what happened wasn't a malicious attack. It wasn't sabotage. It wasn't a setup. It was a public moment in a public space, captured in real time and magnified by a digital culture that never forgets. What Byron truly underestimated wasn't Coldplay or concert cameras. It was the power of the internet to expose, dissect, and never let go. Astronomer has moved on. Kristen Cavett has disappeared from the public eye. Meghan Kerrigan, the quiet casualty in all of this, may never speak publicly, but she didn't have to. Her absence said enough. And Andy Byron, he may try to rewrite this chapter in court, but legally and socially, the ink is already dry. Some scandals fade, others become legends. This one, it's a cautionary tale forever looped in concert recap reels, meme accounts, and breakup playlists. And just when you think it couldn't get wilder, wait till you see what happened when a pop star actually confronted a heckler on stage, mid-show. If you thought this scandal was insane, click here to watch what went down in that viral confrontation next.